Hey Adam, Jeff Allen here. I just want to kind of follow up on the live event we had the other evening where you and Tucker pulled me in as a surprise guest. Because actually what happened was I had a brand new computer and I got a brand new Iron Man headset here that's totally cool because it's like surround sound. I got this little brand new equipment, but I was trying to log in and I hadn't, I lost all my, passwords and stuff on my browser. I said, I don't want to get my browser. I don't care about that when you give me a new computer. I just want my data, just my gig. So I did is I got this brand new computer. I'm kind of logging. I'm trying to get to couple all these things again as I'm going. And so somehow the LinkedIn feed was, the live event was slow for me and I wasn't seeing anything. So I pulled over it and went into Google, Google Meet or whatever it is, or Google Hangouts, or I can't remember which one it's called. So that was okay. The connection's there. And I said, okay, I'm going to look over on YouTube too. And so I'm connected to all three of these things in a restaurant. and, and, uh, and then bam, and the Tucker says, hey, we got a surprise guest, Jeff. And I'm, whoa, dude, I got to cancel other ones. I'm actually online. So it's fun. It was great. So, if I want to follow up, I just off the top of my head, I just said one of the things, and I had lots of ideas of these different things, of these different myths. Um, but the one that I keep hearing about is this whole machine translation and post editing and all that, because I've been kind of working in this for a long time, and Nadim, you've been working, you've been customizing things for your whole process, which is great. But what I was trying to say was that the there are a lot of people that are still selling. I'm not saying that they're actually selling, you know, the speech to speech translation of Star Trek Universal Translator perfect, or Iron Man, in the helmet with Jarvis, the perfect, translation discussion and all that stuff. I'm not saying that they're actively selling it. It's just that they're giving the impression that this is actually where we are. It's this kind of giving the impression, okay? And that's what the user population believes because they're watching the movies. They're thinking, hey, that's where we are. The great movie to watch is the movie Arrival. Watch the movie Arrival. It's called First Contact in other languages. We call it in French as First Contact. Someone told me in town it's called First Contact, or German, the First Contact of the aliens. But it's called Arrival. A great movie because it actually shows you where we really are, where we think with the military, where they're thinking of the aliens and where, and then they start with all these computational linguists and bringing them all together. And it's like, and then they had to come back to basic field work linguistic techniques to start with the aliens, and it shows where we really are. Great movie because that is like the movie I tell people to watch. But but the movies, people do watch all the Marvel comics movies, and all our Star Trek fans and Star Wars fans and all these things I tell my kids to watch because they need to watch it because these are classical things you got to watch to because my kids are French, so I want them to see classical American kind of movies that came out, and I want them to have that cultural background too. But the problem is that all feeds into this. We all think we can have it right today. Um, and the reality of it, and I've pretty much worked in every single type of engine that a machine translation engine that has ever existed, approach, plus all type of brands and all types of versions of the different brands. I've probably done the most of anybody at doing actually work with these things and implementing and then deploying them and installing them and using them and training people on them on so many different types of approaches that I know what we can do, what we can really do, and what we can really achieve with generic, you know, non-trainable stuff, and what we can do with customized types of systems, and the different hybrids of all these different things. And I've been doing it for a long time, and I've gotten really highly productive with it. And people sometimes say, it's not possible. You can do what you're doing. I said, you haven't tried it this way. So I do videos on this too and explain that. So what I'm trying to say is that, there is this belief. It's this, we are like Tucker said, we're at Babelfish, and we're at Captain Kirk, or we're at MacGyver Total, or with the Flintstones, so we get to talk and do it. It's all perfect, all accents and everything. It's just works and magic and all foreign accents and everybody. I'm tired and I've had like 25 cups of coffee and I'm speaking fast, crazy, and it's getting me. It can do all that. That's what kind of the impression is that people, the users are expecting, and we got to just tone that down. Say, what can we really do with the real live systems, and how good is it? And I do admit, and Adam, like you said, the generic stuff, the general systems that YouTube and all these and Google and all that, it's really good. It is. I mean, I put videos on YouTube all the time, and I put them in English and French, but and I activate the subtitles in them always so that people can actually click on auto translate to get it. And I tell them to go watch the another version, another language of my YouTube, on my video on YouTube, if they don't speak that language. And I tell them, I encourage them to do it. And I said, it's pretty good. It's actually pretty good for what I'm doing. But my stuff is generic, right? It's all generic. I don't have like highly dense videos with very intense, vocabulary with named entities, and all these named entities are all these person, places, or things that are highly technical and stuff. I avoid that because the people just don't want to listen to that, except for a couple of things I've done. But the thing is that the systems are good for the generic stuff, and actually most of the systems have been trained on journalistic writing for that's the easiest thing to train it on because it's all over the internet. But a lot of these systems are, they're really good at that. And when I give demos, when I was at different, companies I don't want to name here, but just look at my profile, the first thing you do is go pull up, articles in the newspapers and start translating that, because that's where it's really good. Because it's got some domain stuff, but not too much. It's not too technical, right? So that's the greatest stuff to show non-customizable MT on, and all that. But there are people like you and people like me that have been doing the custom stuff behind the scenes I've been doing it for like 3 decades, and I can't talk about the really custom stuff. I can, but I can't actually show how we're doing it because I can't show the content and people don't believe it. And so it's kind of the custom stuff. You can really do incredible stuff. I've done super incredible stuff. People don't believe it. I got a few videos up that I actually tell it. I tell a few stories and people say, that can't be done. I said, you haven't done it before. And so I tell this in one of my videos called My Atypical MT Implementations. That one, I just give several examples like I did, and people in the industry saying, no way, at a conference. I said, yeah, I've done it before. I tell them. So I've actually explained in that my atypical implementations what I've told people in dinners, at conference talks, and colleagues, peers, like all of us, just you and I weren't in the same conferences. And so there's a few examples, things I've done that are kind of like, whoa, this is, you can't have done that. Yeah, I did. So this is where you can go and get there on custom stuff. And that's even years ago. But the thing is that most people don't have access to the custom stuff, right? They don't have access. So, and they're trying to pull in these APIs into these other cat tools and stuff. And so you're pulling stuff for free into something other environment, but you're losing all the other features that you would have if you had a real custom tool, right? So what you've done, Adam, is you've customized it, and you got a full customized tool in the workflow. It's going really well. And this is what I've been preaching for decades. This is what we want to do, And I believe what you're doing is great. And if you can offer that as a service to your customers who are wanting software internationalization, and then that provides for local, yeah, this is great. I fully believe in it, and I fully support you. Hire me, man. Come on, hire me. Just kidding. But this is great. But there are so many people, and the expectations. It's all this user expectation stuff that I'm dealing with too, and I'm trying to tone down that expectations that for the general non-customizable stuff, we're not there yet, with all the voice to voice and stuff. And yeah, we're pushing for it. I'm pushing it for every day too, and I'm working on stuff too. But I don't have the teams of Google behind me and Microsoft behind me doing this stuff. So I don't have those big teams. So it's kind of, working with the resources you got. So I think this is the whole, and actually I've made a couple videos about how we could, Microsoft or Google could do better. You got to go find those videos. I put them on my YouTube channel too. I've done some where I've talked about, I haven't done that one. It's coming. It's coming. I've talked about some of the ones that some of the implementations I've done and stuff. And I got some other ones. I haven't quite done it yet, but it's coming. I promise it's coming. It's about how they could do better. I think I've hinted in one or two videos. I'll have to go check to see if I don't have, but if it's not, then it's coming. So I'll tell us how to do it better. Without making anybody angry and stuff. Not with saying, it just from the experience of doing those low data languages and stuff, and how I really had to optimize and jumpstart it, and bootstrap this thing to death, and some of the techniques that are done could really make a big difference on top of what we're already done. But so it's that kind of thing. It's this whole custom versus non-customized stuff that I'm kind of mentioning where we're not at, because we're not out there with the generic stuff. Okay. But if everybody could go out and get like custom development and pay for it and do it, this would keep all these companies alive, and we'd be making more than the current market segmentation report stuff, right? So we'd be like boosting we wouldn't be even doing it we wouldn't have like TransPerfect hitting the 1 billion mark. We'd have like all these companies hit the 5 billion mark every year, because if we were really doing what we could do with the customized stuff and selling it just incredibly, when that's, I think, where we need to be, where I'd like us to get. But we get challenged with that too. I mentioned in other videos, but so I think it's these things I'm just trying to say. It's how we users are expecting more than we can do in production. Production. I'm talking production. I'm not talking sci-fi. So I know what the sci-fi can do, and I want to get there, but but I have to kind of joke around things and say, hey, well, I literally do say sometimes in meetings, I come to meetings with like Microsoft Translator T-shirt on and stuff, and this is what I do, and then people start saying that. I said, hey, you need to just stop watching too much Star Trek and Star Wars and Marvel comics and stuff. And I've had people say, you can't say this, and I said, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Do you know who's talking to you? So, but I do tell them where we are, where we can get and where we can do with the resources and the things. And these are kind of situations where I do know what's going on, and I can say, well, yeah, we can do that and that with the resources we got there. But if you don't pump that up here, you don't invest in this, and kind of that's where I'll say, whoa, it's not going to go anywhere until you add, let's add 100 people into it and and do all this and add a few more competent, I'll say what we can do. And I say, but if you don't do that, then we're not going to do what you see on Iron Man or whatever. So, so it's I think it's this. We're both saying the same thing. It just I can make like jokes about it, because and you work in software. I've worked in software, test teams and development teams and project man, done stuff for non-language stuff. So been there and done it too, and not always in language technologies. I've done quite a few times doing other stuff, financial software and business analytics and decision-making support systems and telecom optimization systems. And I can name a whole bunch of them. They're all on my LinkedIn list, the profile. But it's done all that too, and been in there and had to consider how we can make those better. Big data stuff. So I think it's this thing, and it's really interesting to be out of the field and then come back in, and out of the field and come back in. And how can I come back in with all these other ideas? How you can do this stuff? I I have ideas, but I do have constraints, and I'm aware of my constraints and what I can do and what I can't do. And one thing too I want to say is that I've also had the situation of, I spent the first, I think, 5 to 10 years really promoting, well, not the first 5-10 years of my career, but the first 5-10 years in industry, okay, promoting controlled language, okay, and I was able to, and I was organized of 3 of the different international workshops of the 5 during that period, and read everything and reviewed everything and made comments everything and all that, but then I also have been on the other side where you don't have. That's where you can control the source, and I've been in this situation where you can't control the source, and it's just no way to do it. No matter, even if you want to, you can't, because you're at the end of the line and you don't have access to it. So I've kind of had to shift gears completely and deal with, well, how can we do it when we can't change the source? So I've kind of totally modified stuff, but it worked in both situations, and it, like can. Super great achievable stuff with the controlled and not, And then I reply, what happens when you do it, when you apply it to neural too, and statistical neural? So I've kind of applied it in different ways and shown the results. And then not just rule based and knowledge based and all that stuff, and neural and statistical and how it applies. But then I brought it around too, and how to do it when you can't affect the when you can't change the source, and then and how can you still get productivity, high productivity? I'm always thinking productivity, how much you can get with a certain amount of time. And I'm always measuring by productivity, not by I don't be able blue scores. Forget blue scores. I don't care about that. That's all just whatever media run or whatever. I'm looking at productivity, and that's what it comes down to. And what are the results of the productivity, and what are the expected results, and what are your quality you want, not just what you think you want, but what does the customer really want, and you measure against that, and there are ways to do that. And I want to go into I got other videos about measuring quality and all that stuff, but so I think that's where it comes down to, and I think you're doing the same thing. You're measuring the productivity. You're just checking that, and trying to make sure that it fits. It fits, it corresponds. And you're dealing with strings too. So the strings there are certain constraints with the strings versus, paragraphs kind of content. I mean, and I'm doing voice too. I'm doing subtitles. I've done a lot of stuff. I've been doing a lot of videos recently that kind of explain all the different things I've been doing. The challenges of and applying these approaches to all this. So, but I think this is just we need to be realistic in what we can really do and what we can do custom stuff and certain custom stuff, certain custom systems, and how you can provide it as a service afterwards or somewhere along the line in a B2B or B2C kind of relationship and all that. So we all know this, but that's the challenge. But I'm fully for what we can do. Hey, I'm working on some. I got some stuff I really want to work on, and I know exactly how to do it. I just need the people to do it. So I just know the resources I need to get, but I can't get them. And that we'd be really kicking. You know what? So, but hey, I can't help it. You can always have what you need to do that. So I totally agree with you. I just do, and I disagree. Not, but don't disagree. It's just I bring that reality check of where we can't have it in the non-custom. I keep having to say that, but I want to make sure that that's clear. And I support all these different views. I just really want us to do the best we can. So hey, that's the thoughts for the Albat and kind of the follow up and the points, and hope that clarifies at least the thing, because I was kind of surprised. Well, we're going to talk about today because coming on and surprise, we're on live. So great. So have a good day, have a good evening, stay safe.